If you compare window and door quotes by price alone, you're almost guaranteed to make the wrong decision. They want to know that they're not being misled, and that's fair. So here's the simplest way to compare window and door quotes without actually knowing construction. Stop comparing totals, start comparing the structure. I can't tell you how many times I've seen estimates that will just list the name of the company, not what series or model. I've talked about it a bunch of times. You don't go to a dealership and say, I want Mercedes. You want a specific Mercedes. You want a specific Honda. You want a specific Porsche, whatever it may be. And myself as a consumer as well, I would feel like that would immediately build distrust for any company that doesn't specify what series or what model I'm getting. So first and foremost, you always have to understand what model exactly are you comparing to another one. The second thing to compare is the design pressure. Feel free, that's not an invasive question. Ask your company what design pressure ratings are included in your specific openings. Not impact, not approved. What is rated correctly for your home? And if that can't be explained clearly,
stop it. Get some help.
The third thing to compare is the installation method. You should ask them, hey, how are your windows and doors anchored? What kind of fasteners do you use? How many, how deep? You might not need the technical answers, and I actually made a video explaining how to understand the NOAs or the Florida product approvals, where it actually shows what the spacing should be. I would say rest assured 100% of the manufacturers will actually pre-drill the holes. However, you got to be careful because code can change, and if your windows have been sitting in a factory or sitting in a warehouse for a while, that code can change and that spacing could be incorrect. But at the end of the day, you might not need such technical answers. You just need confident ones. The fourth thing to compare is the glass package. Now ask them, is it insulated? Is it low E? Is the glass tinted? At the end of the day, all those details are going to affect the comfort, the energy bills, and the noise within your home. One quote may actually include them, and the other one does not. And for that reason, they're not comparable. And the fifth thing is to compare the door execution. So believe it or not, doors are actually where most problems happen down the line. Have that conversation. Ask them, how are your thresholds installed? How is water managed? Which panels are operable before you order? That has to be like the worst feeling, that if you have a beautiful slider, a beautiful French door installed in your home, and it was not super clear to you as to which door was the main door that operated or slid. I couldn't imagine what that would feel like. Trying to think. It would not be a good day for any of us. At this point in time, vague answers here are a red flag. And if you already ordered with a company and you don't feel comfortable, stop what you're doing, call the management, tell them to pause the order. You want somebody to come back to your house. It should not cost you anything additional. At the end of the day, they're selling you peace of mind. That's the least that they can offer you, is peace of mind, making sure that your doors and windows are going to open up in the direction that you need them to. So that's something different that we actually do at Bigfoot Windows and Roofing. On our first initial visit, we'll draw the design of your home and we'll label every opening going around your house, what kind of door, what kind of slider, and typically what direction those doors or sliders are opening in. It's just so you know from the beginning, this is what you're getting, so there's no surprises down the line. And another thing to compare is how change is handled. So as time goes on, and it's an interesting thing to talk about, we've actually started adding cost to our quote. Now stay with me, because a lot of homeowners are scared of the unknown. They're scared of what their municipality permits are going to cost. They're scared of how much it's going to be if we need to do drywall repairs. It's a lot of homeowners are just scared of the unknown. They hear all these horror stories. My project was going to cost me $10,000. By the time I finished, it was $30,000. So we've actually tried to remove friction from the process, include all these things in our services. So once again, going back to the original conversation, you have to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. Are the bucks included? They should be included, because majority of the projects, you're going to have to replace the bucks. I would probably say 80 to 90% of the time. So why not include it? And if anything, if we don't have to replace it, we can issue a credit back to the homeowner. So at the end of the day, we live in a super humid, salty climate. A lot of the homes are built in the 50s, 70s. They're old, they have issues, they aren't up to code, and issues are gonna show up at the end of the day. But the best thing that you can do on the front end is have the conversation with your contractor, asking them, what happens when something unexpected is found? Is it documented? Is it explained? Are they just going to show up with a bill and say, you owe me, a couple $1,000s? Is it ignored? Is it covered? Hopefully not. And at the end of the day, that's what you're getting. That's the value, is that knowing that if you're with a good company, they care about how your house is going to perform after they leave the project. In my opinion, that's a great company. Now, in my opinion, here's the most important part. The best quote you can get is one that you understand. It's not the cheapest, it's not the fastest. Understanding will remove fear at the end of the day, and fear is what causes regret. Most full home window and door projects cost anywhere between $15,000 and $45,000, depending on the choices, the size of the home, insulated, non-insulated, custom colors, custom glass. And if someone is far below that range, something has to be missing. And if something is far above it, ask what's included. So a lot of good companies will actually welcome questions. They're not going to try to rush you. They want to explain, because comparison done correctly rewards quality. And you don't need to be an expert. You just need clarity. And clarity is how confident homeowners decide what's best for their home.